Okay, so let's see where we're at on our reading tonight. Last night we read, I believe it was Sentenced to Die. Where's it at?
It was.
The Last Supper. Yeah, I think it was Sentenced to Die. And then the cross. Or then he, death on a cross and Sentenced to Die. Okay. So tonight we're reading The Empty Tomb. Very early on Sunday morning, just before dawn, Mary Magdalene and two friends went to the tomb to finish the preparations for the burial. They wondered how they would roll away the huge stone that blocked the entrance. When the women reached the hillside, they were astonished to see that the stone had been rolled away from the tomb, and the soldiers guarding it had gone. A man in shining white clothes told them, "Don't be frightened. I know you are looking for Jesus. He is not here. He is alive." When the women looked into the tomb, they saw it was empty. The body had gone. Puzzled and a little frightened, the three women ran to tell the disciples and friends of Jesus. "They've taken the Lord away, and we don't know where they've laid him," cried Mary. The disciples didn't believe her. They thought the women must have imagined it. Peter and John ran to the tomb to see for themselves. John arrived first but hesitated to go in. When Peter came, he went straight in and saw that the tomb was empty, but the clothes that Jesus had been wrapped in were lying there. Peter and John didn't know if the body had been stolen or if Jesus had really come alive again. Puzzled and anxious, they went quietly home. Mary Magdalene went back to the tomb by herself. While she knelt, weeping outside the tomb, Jesus came and stood beside her. "Why are you weeping? Who are you looking for?" he asked. Mary didn't look up. She thought it must be a gardener speaking to her. "I'm weeping because they've taken my Lord away. Please tell me where he is," she begged. "Mary," said Jesus. Mary looked up and saw it was Jesus. "My Lord," she cried. "Go," he said, "go and tell my friends you've seen me, and that soon I'll be with my Father in heaven." Full of joy, Mary ran to tell the disciples that she had seen Jesus and that he had spoken to her. I can't turn these pages for nothing tonight.
Are they hard to turn?
On the road to Emmaus. On that Sunday evening, Cleopas and Simon, both friends of Jesus, were walking along the road from Jerusalem to the village of Emmaus. As they walked slowly and sadly, they talked about Jesus. After a while, a man caught up with them. It was Jesus, but they didn't recognize him and thought he was a stranger. "Why are you so sad?" Jesus asked them. "Are you the only stranger in all of Jerusalem who doesn't know what has happened there over the last 3 days?" asked Cleopas. "Why, what has happened?" asked Jesus. "We were talking about Jesus of Nazareth," said Simon. "He was a great teacher. We believed he was sent by God to save our people, but the chief priests and Roman rulers accused him of breaking the laws of God and of the Romans. They condemned him to death, nailed him to a cross, and now he's dead. That was last Friday, 3 days ago. When some women went to his tomb today, they found that his body had gone. They said that an angel had told them Jesus is alive." Jesus told them the ancient prophets had foretold that all this would happen and explained it to Cleopas and Simon. When they reached Emmaus, it was late in the evening. Cleopas and Simon thought that the stranger was going to walk on, so they invited him to stay and have supper with them. When they sat down to eat, the stranger picked up a loaf of bread. He broke it into pieces and said a prayer of thanks to God and gave it to the two men. At that moment, Cleopas and Simon realized that the stranger was, in fact,
Jesus?
That's right. They stared at him in silence, and then he was gone. Very excited, they talked about Jesus for a few minutes and then decided they must go back to Jerusalem. Jumping up from the table, they ran all the way back to the city. Cleopas and Simon soon found some of the disciples and some other friends of Jesus. They told them that Jesus was alive and that they had seen him and spoken to him. At first, the disciples didn't believe them, but one said, "It must be true. Peter has seen him too." They locked the door of the room because they were afraid the Roman rulers and chief priests. They were afraid of the Roman rulers and chief priests. Then suddenly Jesus was in the room with them. "Peace be with you," he said. At first they were very frightened, but they thought he was a ghost. "Don't be afraid," said Jesus. "Look at the wounds on my hands and feet. Touch me and find out that I'm made of flesh and bone." Then they knew that he was really
Real.
Jesus.
Jesus.
"Have you anything to eat?" Jesus asked them. They gave him some cooked fish and some honeycomb and watched him eat it. Jesus explained to them that this was all part of God's plan and that it had been foretold by prophets. God's Son had to die and come alive again on the third day, he said. God forgives everyone who believes in me, his Son. This is the This is the message for all the people in the world, and you must go and tell them this. And tomorrow night, we're going to read Breakfast by the Lake. Okay? So what do we call God died on the cross for us, and what do we call what happened on the third day? Starts with an E.
He rose back up from the dead.
Easter.
Easter.
Easter is when Jesus rose from the dead. That's not about bunnies. People can eat chocolate bunnies and give their kids Easter baskets, but the biggest thing we need to remember is it's about Jesus, and he raised from the dead. Okay. Tomorrow is Wednesday. Put a hump in your back because it's hump day. Oh. That's what I say to y'all every Wednesday morning when I drop you off. JC, tell them night-night. You got you some boxing gloves on, honey?
Night. I love these things.
Look at me and say night-night.
Night.
You got your little ninja boxing gloves, baby?
Yeah, I love these things.
Do you?
They still fit me.
They do?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Logan, tell them night-night.
Bye.
Fifi, you gonna tell them night-night? She's ready to go night-night herself. Look at her. Yeah. All right, well, we love y'all. Hope everybody has a wonderful night. We will talk to y'all tomorrow.